welcome to Connected Community. I'm your host, Nancy Bacci. With me today is Matt Mitchell, Prevention Services Manager for the Health and Human Services Department for the City of Somerville. Thanks for coming on, Matt.
Of course.
As we know, you just celebrated your 1-year anniversary, so all bets are off now. Now you're stuck with us.
I am.
So, as you know, you came on last year, right, as you were just brand new in your role to talk about your hopes for National Night Out. We try to host this every year and focus on this because it is such an important community event. We really want to publicize it as much as we can to get tons of people out on what is always a beautiful night at Foss Park. So, can you tell us a little bit the history of National Night Out?
Sure. So it started back in 1984. So it really came out of individuals in the community really trying to make bonds with their police forces, particularly because of, the tension and how things have changed over time with the relationships with the police and kind of the responsibilities of the police. And so community members really wanted to find a way to connect people on a more positive way. And this event really came out of that, so that we're bringing people under positive circumstances together with their police forces, particularly because usually they're not really coming or meeting one another under positive circumstances, whether it be a 911 call or something that's coming in. They wanted to really find a way to get people to meet up and think about things in a more positive way.
That's interesting. I know with our chief, particularly under Chief Fallon, is really the sense of proactive policing. You know, you want to create the relationships. You want the first encounter with the police to be a positive one because of the ripple effect with that. So if you have a great interaction with the police, you're going to share that with people and it really just echoes throughout the community. So people are able to view the police in a really positive way based on an individual's interaction. So
100%, especially because, like I said earlier, the police force and their roles have expanded so much. They're taking on more social work type roles in the city.
Yes.
And they're really the point of access or the point of entry for a lot of different resources in the city, and they're there interacting with people on a day-to-day basis. So any positive way that we can get people to see each other and interact is the ultimate goal, and that's where this event kind of came from.
That's great. I think you echoed it correctly. We have very high expectations of our police department. It's no longer, you're not arriving and arrest isn't the desired outcome. You're providing resources and services and, just really becoming more a guardian of the community mentality, which is great to see. And as you said, really ties in very nicely with this sort of event. So last year you came in, just as I said, just a month before the event was kicking off. So a lot of the pre-work had been done. So you really were kind of coming into the structure. So now that you have the first year under your belt, what do you think?
I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of excitement I receive when I am sending emails out or trying to connect with people to say, hey, the event's this year, and people get back to me right away. And having gone through the experience last year, as you're organizing it, you're like, is everything going to work out the way that you want it to work out? Is this going to happen? Is this going to go this way? And then it kind of just runs itself. Once you get there, everybody kind of goes to their spot. They know where they need to go. And then it just takes a life of its own. And, especially with the pool being so close, people just naturally coming by. Other people have seen the event and have said, I really want to come and check it out because I come every year. And especially this being the 16th annual event, people know what's happening and they want to come. And it was definitely exciting to see how it all unfolded and kind of how everybody came together to kind of just make it happen.
Nice. In a minute, we are going to see a brief clip of some of last year's activity. But I do think, when you think of the space too, Foss Park, while it's located right in Somerville, it is a state-owned facility and has a lot of moving parts to it. There are tennis courts and football spaces and the pool and a playground, and it's a really, really large, vast space that we have available. And for people to know that the first Tuesday of every August, because that's just it in perpetuity, which I think is so important when you're asking people, whether it's organizations to commit to tabling or participants to attend, it's nice to know there isn't the fluctuation. So you can just bookmark it and know that that's where you're going to be on that first Tuesday of August.
People really like that consistency, and that they know what they'll expect, that things are going to be the way that they were. We'll have slight changes and maybe new things that we can add. But for the most part, we like to kind of keep it consistent for folks to know what they're coming into, and then that they can say, hey, you may not know about this event, or this event may be something new to you, but there's a lot of different resources that you can connect here. There's food, there's entertainment, there's performances, but then there's resources. You can talk with different agencies and get things that maybe you didn't even know that were available to you in the city.
So would you like to take a look at the clip from some of last year's action?
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a look.
your product. Zip line and climbing.
So the primary thing we usually, dogs for is their nose. They have a great ability to detect things. They can do what's called scent discrimination. What that means is each and every one of you have your own individual scent. Based on your ethnicity, the food that you eat, the clothes you wear, the deodorant you put on your body, etc. The dog can differentiate each and every odor. To put that in terms you'll understand, if you go home and your significant other is cooking spaghetti, you're going to say, well, I'm hungry, I can smell spaghetti. The dog's going to come home, and the dog's going to say, I can smell oregano, I can smell parsley, I can smell 4 different types of tomatoes, I can smell overcooked meat, and I can smell undercooked chicken. The dog can differentiate all those smells and compartmentalize them in their brains and understand them.
Hi, this is Mayor Joe Curtatone here at our 15th annual National Night Out. Tonight's event is about safety, but it's really all about community. And this is an opportunity for us to really come out and reflect and show the community who we are, from elected officials to first responders and public safety officials to activists and advocates. Members of our community are working together to make Somerville an exceptional place to live, to work, to play, and raise a family.
It'll be red when you get home.
My name's Anastasia,
My name is Auntie Pam.
and I don't know what y'all doing, but
We came here to go swimming, and all of a sudden you guys are here. It's wonderful, it's different, it's something new. I'm a homeless woman myself, but right now I'm with my family, and thanks to you guys, it was a wonderful day. Everything was different. For once, we got along with the police instead of being scared of them. So I thank the police, the fire department, and whoever made this happen, because I was having a really bad day. Thank you.
How was it? Went to your selfie or something? Or they do it specifically?
When I was at Bacci.
How you doing, sir? Good. What's that?
Watch out for these
It's the microphone. Say hi. He's here right now.
Yeah, we should have said yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Well, that really gave us an interesting kind of overview of everything happening there, right? I do remember it was a beautiful night last year. Attendance was robust. I think as we saw in the clip, there are people attending from all age groups. We had that lovely dog in the carriage too, which is great to see. You know, animals are having a good time at National Night Out as well. One thing that I almost forget until I see it again is how much enjoyment young children get out of the touch a truck option. Like being able to sit in the fire truck and turn on a police siren, and just how exciting that is for them is always really, really great to see.
It's true. As I was watching it, it was a nice refresher for some of the things that I forgot even were a part of last year's. But seeing the youth interact with the trucks, whether it be the fire truck or the ambulance or the police cars or the police motorcycles, whatever it may be. We even added Pat's Towing last year, a towing truck for individuals to check out. And it's cool because as much as we may see it in our day-to-day lives, we don't really think about it as much or like have a direct experience with touching or playing with, not playing with it, but interacting with the individuals who operate those vehicles. So. It's always nice to see those demonstrations are well liked, and it's nice to see we really do put a focus on finding activities for the youth that they can interact with. So it's not just a table with resources, but it's a table that has resources but is interactive. So there's coloring, there's activities, there's things that will engage the youth so that they feel like it's something that they can come to and enjoy rather than just say, oh, I'll take a flyer and leave. But it's great to see. I think the youth can expect the similar type of interactions with folks. We do encourage that with all of our tabling partners, and it's always nice to see them interact in ways that make it enjoying for them.
Yeah, it's just I always like seeing the clips because there's so much that goes on while you're organizing or you're checking something over here, and you don't get to see. Just by sheer volume of what's happening, you don't get to see everything. So I like when you're able to take the chance to view the clip and realize, like, here are some things that happened while you were busy doing something else.
I absolutely did not know that a lot of those things were happening because I saw myself in the background running back and forth and probably saying, okay, we need to get to the next thing. But it's nice to kind of take a second and see it in a way that the youth and the families are really enjoying themselves, whether or not they knew that the event was happening or they just stumbled across it as they were walking down the street. We don't care how you get there as long as you get there.
So can you tell us a little bit about what this year's event will entail? I know there's a change in the time, so that's important information to get out there. But without giving away any surprises, kind of walk me through what the night will look like.
Absolutely. So we did shorten it a little bit. So it's typically 5 to 8, and now it's going to be 5:30 to 7:30. It naturally ended at 7:30 last year with rain coming.
Yes.
So we found that to be very helpful and really to be a good use of the time. So there'll be opening and address remarks at the beginning, right at 5:30, from the mayor, the police chief, myself, just kind of welcoming people to the event. And then we will have performances between 6 and 7:30. The K9 unit will be back. I can't spoil that because everybody wants to make sure.
My favorite thing ever, yes.
They will be back. And then we have some returning acts that have been there in the past but weren't there last year. And I'm excited since I wasn't there before last year to see them perform. And I think people, from what I've heard, are very excited that they're back because they've been kind of a staple of the event over the years.
So as we saw in the clip and we've chatted about, you do utilize community partnerships, various nonprofit organizations, city departments are able to table and provide resources. So tell us a little bit about what feedback you've got from the organizations about the value they have from doing this tabling experience.
It's funny because when I reached out to new people last year and then they gave me their feedback about it, it was all overwhelmingly positive.
Great.
And I think it's because, they may have not have been aware that this was an event that happened, or they may not have just realized that you can get involved with it. It's very easy. It's all you have to do is get invited or say, hey, I'm interested and I'd like to come and attend. But yeah, the feedback has been pretty great in terms of the agency saying, hey, we support this message. We really want to kind of help the community in this way. Even if an agency that's not able to come this year, when they wrote me the email, they said, we really support this message. Even though we can't attend, is there any way that we can kind of do things outside of this event? So that's the type of things that we're looking for, especially with sustainability and developing those partnerships so that the work we're doing doesn't just live with us, but lives in the community at large. So I think, and everybody has been saying it's been great, and I hope it's going to continue that way this year.
I know, it is really about the importance of relationship building. I mean, resource gathering. There really are a lot of options, and you say I always like to take a step back at it and kind of look at it at the various points of entry, because as we talked about, Foss Park is a lot of ways to navigate, pardon me, Foss Park. So where people come in, and it's interesting to see because someone will walk by and be like, oh, there's tables. It's like, wait, but there's a performance area. And then there are a lot of vehicles and all these sorts of things. So really coming upon it and having people have the entire experience, which is, you go around the tables and you're learning so much information. And one thing that we always try to do in Health and Human Services is to encourage people to learn about topics and various resources that are available. So even if they're not relevant to you, you become a source of information for others in the community. So you have transformed yourself into a resource for the community.
For sure. I know last year I had somebody come up to me, and he came up to the mayor, and he was saying, hey, I'm really looking for this service for my child. And they both came up to me and said, hey, do we have this available? And I pointed them right over to the table that they needed those services, and they knew they could get them from that. So it's those type of interactions where, have something just available for folks. And the layout, like you were saying, lends well to kind of perusing and looking around. It's kind of on main pathways in Foss Park. So if you're trying to get from the pool to the street or from the street to the MBTA stop, you're going to have to cut through there one way or the other. And so I don't know about you, but when you see something that you're not expecting, you tend to be like, hey, what's going on over there? And you may drift over. And I did see that firsthand last year, and I hope it continues. Hopefully the weather, because I know last year's weather was great, I hope the weather is the same this year. But people just come out, they enjoy it, and I think the layout and the place and where we do it, it just lends well to just everybody getting involved, especially off the highway too. People may be driving by and they're like, hey, maybe I'll stop by and get some free popcorn.
I think too, as you had mentioned earlier, the pool, you kind of have a captive audience because the pool does close at one point while the event is still going on. So sometimes you're able to capture people who are on their way to the pool and they stop and maybe look at a table or two or listen to a performance. And then you do see them circle back afterwards to kind of gather more information, find out what else is available to them.
One of my favorites are when the neighbors who are in the neighbors in that general area will be like, I just came out and I'm new here. I came out, I was coming to walk my dog, and I saw this event and I said, hey, why don't I come over? And then they call their friends or they call their family members, and then you see their nieces, nephews, whoever it may be come, and they got popcorn or anything, whatever it may be, playing with parkour or, it's a good way to get people out of their house, especially on a hot summer day, and it gives you some free resources and some free fun.
So what do you think the benefit is to the city? Why do we continue to host this? As you had indicated, this is the 16th year of Somerville participating, and as you and I have talked, it has had different iterations of it.
Sure.
So, sometimes you try something and it goes over well or it doesn't, or you want to just mix it up. I know we're already looking ahead to maybe some different ideas for next year, but what do you see as the benefit to the community for hosting this? Because, it is your staffing time, it is the relationship with the police department. We know Target is a corporate sponsor, but
I really think it just comes down to the relationship building and getting people familiar with the people who are in their community, whether it be the city departments, whether it be community agencies, nonprofits, or the police department. I think they're really the main individuals in this, where, they're probably the most dense amount of police officers in that area at one time. I don't think you're going to get that many in one area mostly. And they're accessible to the community members. So, if you have a question or you just have like, hey, I've seen you before, or, there are ways that you can interact so that it's more positive. So maybe in the line where you may have to come across, unfortunately, the police in a way that you may not want to, or unexpectedly, or whatever it may be, you'll be able to kind of say, hey, I remember you, and maybe it starts the conversation off on a different tone than maybe it would have been previously.
I think too, when we talk about the police department, as you said, there is, that sense. The young people get a big kick out of climbing on a motorcycle or activating the lights in a traffic unit, but it really provides this very casual, easy way for the adults that are there to have conversations with the police in a variety of different ways, right? So, as we know, the police are first responders because something bad is usually happening and we need them to come and help us. But this other way of just being able to have these conversations, and we have the staff from the substations are usually out tabling as well with, very fun, engaging activities with the young people that, again, allows the adults to be able to say, I was in a car accident. How do I file a report? Just those very sort of casual conversations you can have, but then really have the opportunity. We're very fortunate to have a very accessible police department. And I think sometimes we take that for granted a little bit because it is the norm here. And we see that with the mayor as well. Like, I don't know of all communities where you could just be like, excuse me, chief, do you have 5 minutes? And the answer is always yes. And you go over and get to have this private conversation with someone at that level of law enforcement. And the same with the mayor. I mean, we always see people use National Night Out as an opportunity, like, heard your remarks, and now I have a question about all of these other things. And he loves that. It really is just a nice engagement opportunity. So when you think of people being able to have what are sometimes difficult conversations with the police in this very easy, nice open space, it just really changes the dynamics, I think.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's really the premise of the event. And to see people just approach, the mayor or the police chief in such a candid way that it is, that they do, it's refreshing to see. And I think it's years of hard work, especially for the city and for the police department, of trying to really reestablish the expectations interacting with the community. And I think they've led by example by that, and I think we are just trying to kind of feed off of that. And this is just an opportunity to really get people to see, like, maybe I don't have to interact with them always on negative circumstances. Maybe I can proactively talk with them about something, and maybe that will help me, down the line, something that I maybe can proactively stop now, or maybe intervene now, and it won't get to the point where I have to call them or utilize them.
Right.
And I think that's really the hope that I have for individuals attending, to feel comfortable. And I know we have police officers roaming around all over the place interacting with individuals. And I hope that people feel comfortable to approach them and have a casual conversation. Just say, hey, how are you? Or,
Right.
I saw you last week here and thought you did a great job, or something along those lines, so that people feel comfortable, and it's really a way to build a community safety and feel comfortable with the individuals who are enforcing the laws and the regulations in the city.
I am going to have the chief on a later show this year, so I don't want to give away all of their stuff, but they are just doing amazing community work. They've had a very active social media presence lately with their junior police academy, and just really great things happening. So I think anything that helps to strengthen the partnerships that community members feel is that they are in partnership with the police department to keep our city safe, I think is so important. So I did want to transition slightly away from National Night Out, because your office has been doing really amazing work in other areas as well, and I did want to allow you the opportunity to talk a little bit about the community work you've been doing.
Sure. Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. So Somerville Prevention Services, we are a division of the City of Somerville's Health and Human Services Department. And we've been working on a lot of initiatives over the last year. It feels like forever now for me, but for the last year on various substance use areas. So one of the primary things that we've been doing has been offering free overdose prevention and naloxone administration training. So in partnership with myself and the public health nurse manager, Sarah Harris, we've been going around and trying to train anybody in Somerville, resident, business, whatever it may be, in overdose prevention, noticing the signs and symptoms of someone that may be experiencing an overdose, and knowing how to intervene effectively. So that could be administering Narcan or administering rescue breaths. And so Sarah and I have made it a point to reach out to any business in the city. We've been reaching out to, I think since the fall of last year, we've trained about 170 individuals and have distributed about 100 doses of Narcan. And that's counting, and we're still going. We actually have one later today. And we're just trying to get the information out there so people feel more comfortable to intervene. And the way that we think about it is, we've seen overdoses occur rarely anywhere. It could happen. And we want people to feel comfortable to intervene and not kind of just assume someone else is handling it, or just assume, something else will be, the police or someone will do it. That bystander effect really could impact the person's life in that moment. So not only is it the distribution of the Narcan, because that's really the life-saving drug that I think has been really contributing to the decreases in the fatal overdoses, but also equipping them with, knock on wood, but also equipping individuals with the information so that they know, why am I giving this drug, or what's the person behind this? We really do a poignant job of trying to get people to understand that it's a human, and that we're not dehumanizing the person in the process. And that there's the stigma and everything, and how we can kind of work with individuals to think differently. And as we know, the more you talk about individuals who are living with recovery, if those old words or those old phrases stick around, it really has that negative connotation. And we've been really trying to get folks to get more to a positive light. And in addition, on a different separate note, we've also been working on an alcohol initiative, or underage prevention for alcohol. And this is around small alcohol bottles, otherwise known as nips or miniatures for individuals. And we've been hearing a lot of feedback from the community that there's been widespread littering of these products across the city. And we see it as a littering issue, but we also see it as an exposure to youth issue. And so we've been working with our liquor stores, as well as our collaborative, our substance abuse prevention collaborative, around finding ways that we can kind of address that. So we have an Instagram page, so check it out at @PreventionAces, #NipIt. To get people to kind of understand how big the problem is. And then we're also developing posters in conjunction with liquor stores, and then hopefully working with our city council to address it on a policy level, but also on an awareness level. So a lot of stuff going on, but it's interesting.
That is great. I think, as you said, there really is value in, being responsive to identified community needs. So understanding the miniature bottles all around, it's a quality of life concern. I mean, it's our neighborhoods, this is where we live, it's where we work. You want, things to look the way they should. And again, to have people, you have so many people sharing photos with you. I know I take them and send them to you, and then I see them on the Instagram page. But just really understanding, like, we are all responsible for our community.
And I think for us, we see it as like an advertising. It's a free advertising for individuals. And what we've seen is that they're littered all over the place, but particularly in parks or youth-friendly areas. And so we really wanted to track it and see what it is, not only just where they are, but what they are and kind of the abundance and the density of them. So we've worked with DPW, we're working with inspectional services, we're working with many different departments on it. But our hope is that we can really get this to be something that is more than just awareness, but put it into action and result into some type of policy change.
Wonderful. So if people want to find out more about National Night Out, the Nip It campaign, the Narcan training, they should follow you on social media?
100%. Follow us on Facebook at /Somerville Cares, and then at Prevention ASHES on Instagram, and then my email is just mmitchell@somervillema.gov.
Awesome. I want to thank you so much, Matt, for taking the time to come on today, talk about this. We're going to keep our fingers crossed for amazing weather for National Night Out, great turnout, and again, I appreciate you taking the time to come on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
As always, I'd like to thank the production crew, Joe Constantine, Bill Trudell, and Ben Martin. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next month.